11 touchdowns for George Kittle, which puts him near the top of the NFL list.
He's had like 7 in the last month.
Well, he didn't play the first 2 weeks of the season. Then he didn't score the first 4 games that he played in. So he didn't score a touchdown until week 7 of the NFL this year.
A week before Halloween.
A week before Halloween. And he still ended up with Devontae had 14, Kelsey had 12, A.J. Brown had 11, Diggs had 12, Jamar Chase had 10, Kittle had 11. So tied for third in the NFL.
Well, I think one thing with him last year and then this year is we just started questioning, like, is he playing a different game than Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
And in fairness, he was asked to block a lot with Jimmy Garoppolo. They were running the ball. That was a huge part of their identity. And even last year, right, toward the end of the season with Deebo Samuel, they just handed him the ball.
Yeah.
And George was like the 6th offensive lineman, and Juszczyk was the 7th. This offense is a little bit more spread her out and sling that pill. And one thing, even though they're rivals, right, Iowa State and Iowa, he fucking feeds that guy, especially in the red zone. What was so bad with the 49ers for a year and a half? Their red zone offense. And I'll never forget, we're on a group text with Jeff Schwartz. He's like, part of being bad in the red zone offense is like better quarterbacks are better in that area. Average quarterbacks to below struggle in that area. The field is wider than it is long. Things happen way faster. It's much more condensed. Purdy is dramatically more potent in the red zone, which has awoken this individual. Now, some of his touchdowns obviously have been explosive touchdowns, right? But today, what happened? Multiple red zone touchdowns. Deebo Samuel is not a red zone player as a wide receiver. Ayuk kind of is, but he's got to run the perfect route. And honestly, he's hit him a couple times in the last month. But George Kittle is a red zone player. 6'3", long, can jump, fucking throw him the ball. Andy, can you imagine how many touchdowns George would have had over the last 3 or 4 years with a Josh Allen, with a Joe Burrow, with less of a run game, right? We've just kind of lost touch with how potent and talented the guy is. Yeah. I know I had. Not that it's shocking when you see him playing like this, but it's like, oh yeah, that's the guy that 4 or 5 years ago became a superstar.
Yeah.
He's not more just
than
a blocker.
Just spiking the football or, being a WWE fan. It's weird. The Niners are 53% red zone touchdown percentage. Last year, they were 64%. But it does just feel kind of different for them this year in the red zone. And obviously, McCaffrey helps. Debo helps. They just have so many weapons. And they're still, with all these extra weapons this year, you add McCaffrey to it, and Kittle's finding a way down the stretch to be really impactful in the pass game. And, you think generally he'd have mismatches. Like, he had Simmons on him on that first touchdown today, right? And Simmons just slipped. Like, he couldn't keep up with, where Kittle knows where he's going, you don't. And once you get behind him, you're in trouble.
Kittle's previous high for touchdowns in a season was 6.
Wow.
I wonder, too, if, part of, being a really good coach is playing to the strengths and weaknesses of your player. Well, one of the strengths of Brock Purdy is his ability to operate the red zone and clearly find Kittle, and they're running plays for him. Like that obviously the touchdown in the back of the end zone, last week touchdown in the back of the end zone, both in the same corner. The second touchdown, right, was just kind of your typical play that you see good offenses run to their star tight end. Kind of a quick out route, head toward the pylon in the middle of the end zone, and my guy's bigger and faster than your guy. That's what you do with Kelsey. It's what you do with Waller. It's what you do with this guy. He is a tough cover. Why? He's fast, physical, and his ball skills are elite. I mean, it's kind of crazy. He's been such a good guy and teammate and always kept his mouth shut even when he wasn't producing. It helps once you get paid, right? Like, I'm getting my salary whether I score 50 touchdowns or not. But still, like, we're all human beings, and he's talented enough to now. And part of it maybe is just, I think that tight end now Kelsey always gets to produce, but I just think like him and Kelsey both fit on the same mold. They're just like high level. They're just trying to win.
It's probably, I think, a coach who wins a lot might say this is how all the teams are, but Debo had to go beyond his, had to go outside of maybe his normal role last year. Trent Williams is asked to do a lot. Juice does a lot. Ayuk does a lot. Like Jennings is always ready to step up. I just think it's kind of a signature of this offense of guys are willing to do things maybe that some star players aren't asked to do.
Totally agree. And I don't think I'm not trying to be fanboy or whatever. Honestly, it kind of annoys me sometimes. I mean, I like the player.
Great genes. 100-year-old grandma was there.
I would say this about George. He's a Hall of Fame level talent. Now, to get there, circumstances and variables, some of them are out of your control as a receiver, but like it's not disputable. I mean, he's as talented of a player at that position beside a small group of guys that we've seen in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Tony Gonzalez, Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, like how many guys that we've seen, especially complete player. One thing to knock on like Tony Gonzalez, like not really that big on blocking. Like part of what made Rob so special is like when Rob wanted to block, he turned into like Trent Williams.